Welcome to Live Ukulele After Hours. Feeling a little inspired tonight to set the track rolling and share some thoughts with you folks, maybe play a couple of songs. I've got a new microphone here in front of me that's got me kind of inspired to see how it sounds in a full kind of production. Also, see how it works for talking and playing at the same time. Should be a lot nicer for picking up a broad range of sounds. You might hear Koki frogs in the background. Today I went through my new course, Left Hand Technique for Ukulele, and whipped it all up into shape for its front end presentation. So all of the videos are done and edited. All of the pages are in place. And from here on out, I need to create like the marketing material and the sales copy and figure out, how I'm going to let folks know what the course is about. Basically, though, it is a crash course, no pun intended, on everything you need to know to kind of navigate the fretboard with your left hand. It sort of unintentionally centers around lead playing and melody playing, just because so many of the techniques that we talk about, the ones that apply to solo notes that you might play independently, like a melody or a solo, those concepts can be applied to chords as well very easily. And so it ended up being a lot of content about melody playing, but there is some chord-specific stuff thrown in there along the way. Really just loved how it turned out. I was able to kind of, because it was a project on my own time, I was able to express some things in the course that I don't maybe necessarily get to in a lesson that I teach somebody, because they have a specific set of skills that they are working on or that they think are important. It's not necessarily something that I think is interesting or the most relevant for them, so I don't always get to choose how to guide people. But because this is my world and you'll be coming to my website for my teaching, I get to make the rules. And so the rules for this course are context and background and fundamentals, so that when you're working through things, you really kind of understand exactly what is going on. That is always kind of my main goal, is that behind the just playing of notes is that you know why you're playing something a certain way and you're not just doing it because somebody said so. I like to encourage people to kind of have a critical musical mind and think about why you're playing this way because of the lesson, and why don't you also play it however you want to interpret it, your way. And I like to give people the tools to hopefully do that themselves and feel comfortable being able to kind of jump in the deep end and swim around a little bit and see what they can discover. And so I think the content in the course is going to allow folks to do that. Really am looking forward to getting it out into the world and seeing how folks like it, see what they're getting out of it. Yeah, so it's going to be in probably another week of getting together copy and putting on my writer hat. I've had so many hats on for this whole project: the recording, video recorder, video editor, lesson creator, teacher hat, and now I've got to be the writer. But that's okay, that's kind of easy. I've been doing enough of that over the years that's no big deal. Yeah, so stay tuned. If you're not already, I invite you to please go subscribe to my newsletter over on liveukulele.com/sign-up, I think, or sign up. I'll put a link in the description. And if you aren't already, subscribe to the podcast. They're not usually this kind of episode. This is very free form. This is not one of the actual planned episodes that I publish on the first and third Saturdays. This is just an in-between, because I feel like it episode. So thanks for tuning in and joining me. Let's see what we can get up to this evening. I hate how much I play in the key of C on the ukulele. I feel very unoriginal because everything that I noodle around on, it always ends up being C just because that's what sounds best usually. It's easiest to get those open strings going. I need to file my nails. But hey, look, my set list is right here. It's going to be interesting to see how the mic works with this ukulele. With these straps that I use, I'm always very conscious of how much they creak and grind. You don't notice it playing live because no one's ever going to hear that. But in a nice intimate setting with a nice microphone, you might notice things such as that. I have my set list right here, and set lists are kind of an interesting thing. I take that back. It's not a set list. It's my song list, because I find that as a performer or as somebody who plays music and might want to share music, anytime that somebody asks me like, hey, play a song, or hey, we're going to go on stage and we're going to play a few songs, that I have no recollection of any of the songs that I actually know when it comes time to play them. It's very much kind of a shock freeze moment where it's like I blank out on whatever songs I know how to play. And so I keep a running list of all the songs that I pretty much know. There are more on here than I would like that, maybe I do need to kind of practice and tune up and make sure I know all the words to them. But for the most part, it's a sizable list. It almost fills a page with like 2 columns of one song per line, maybe 13 or 14 point font, maybe even 12 point font. Probably not. It's a little bigger than 12 point font. But anytime I learn a new song, I always pencil it in on my list so that next time I go to update the list, I just refer back to the old one and I can keep track of the tunes that I have in my back pocket. And I find it's really helpful to have that, because otherwise I'm going to be stuck playing like the same songs that I've been playing for years and years and years that are the only ones that ever come to mind if I am, asked to play something. So this list of songs always goes at my feet when I play a gig, just so I can reference, because the stuff that I play, I'm not like on stage and I need a set list to pull a band along with. I can make it up as I go. And so I just have my list of songs, and I, as I'm playing the one before, I can kind of look at it and decide what I'm going to play next and roll into that if necessary. Otherwise, it's just a little bit of a reminder of what there is that I could be playing. So while I'm complaining about playing in the key of C, I'm going to play a song in the key of C called Calais. And this is a song that my buddy Shim over on Maui, he's a fantastic slack key player, and I think he's younger than me, but he's just really got the touch, just super soulful, old school slack key and Hawaiian voice. And this is a song that I would hear him play over at Uncle George's workshop in Maui, and I always really liked it, and I certainly can't play it as well as Shem can, but I had to learn it myself and add it to my set list. It's a really simple song, simple to follow along with. It just speaks of the flowers that represent each island in Hawaii. In Hawaii, there are a number of things that represent each island that each island is known for. I'm not exactly sure who decided on these things, but like, for instance, Big Island, the flower for Big Island is lehua flower, and our color is red. And so we have that kind of as our symbol of pride for the island. But this song talks about all of the flowers across the state for the main islands, and tra-la-la-la-la. It's kind of a love song, sort of. kale huae, kale hui 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 kale karozelani kale hui 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 Roselane for the island of Maui. Kale karozelani kale hui 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 Wow, that's rough. Better try it again. That's a little better. Ka ilimae kale hui 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 kale ka ilimae island of Oahu kale hui 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 kale moki hanae kale hui 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 moki hana for the Isle of Kauai kale moki hanae kale hui 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 Haina mai kapuanae kale hui 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 Haina mai kapuanae kale hui 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 kale hui 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 kale hui 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 Kaleye. I think I played that last After Hours or on one of the After Hours. A little bit of a repeat, but it's a nice warm-up song that is kind of low maintenance and doesn't take a whole lot of brain power. I find that when I'm performing or kind of under a pressure situation that it's nice to start with a song that I'm can do really easily and confidently. And then from there, you kind of branch out into stuff that's maybe a little bit more rough. So play your best song first, and it's all downhill from there. No, that's not necessarily the best advice, but it is one approach. Definitely start with something that you're comfortable with. But on April 9th, we did Ukes for Ukraine. It was fabulous. It was really super wonderful. And if you missed it, you should go to liveukulele.com and you can click on a link. There's a big giant link right on the front page to go watch the replay. And it's available on YouTube for free, of course. And you can see what we did on April 9th, the Ukes for Ukraine event. It was live streamed right here from my bedroom. And we had Tobias Elof come through. He taught his song Lazy Sunday, which was super fun. It was a little bit janky. He's like not super set up with like, studio cameras or mics or anything. He just had his iPhone, but it totally worked because he had this cool little stand that allowed him to have a top-down shot of his ukulele, and so you could really kind of see under his fingers. He's kind of like one of the leading guys who uses that shot to teach because he feels like it's a little bit easier for folks to comprehend, and it certainly worked. I was able to follow along very easy, and it was just interesting for me, who's not a high G player, to watch him play and to kind of diddle along on my high G, which I never play or never utilize to its fullest, and to kind of see how he ran his melodies with that kind of Nordic style that he has. It was just really, really lovely, and it's just a beautiful tune. I recommend you go check that out if you're more of an intermediate or advanced player. That's a nice challenge. Otherwise, you can skip ahead to Kevin Carroll, who taught the national anthem of Ukraine with a beautiful, just kind of simple chord melody arrangement. That was a little bit easier for folks to grasp. And he had lots of nice tips for kind of expressing the music and how to, think regarding playing it. And Kevin is a fabulous teacher. I think of him as one of the hardest working guys in the ukulele teaching business. He just launched the education.com, which is his collection of ensemble arrangements for ukulele, and you can sort by the number of parts and the genre and the difficulty and everything. And that's kind of his first dabble into passive income and being able to have something to sell online. And before that, he's just like the hardworking dude who's on Skype for 12 hours a day teaching lessons. And before COVID, he had group sessions at his house and was really able to interact with students and kind of pioneer the Ukestra thing, where he had the different parts in the orchestra or the ukulele orchestra playing the melody and the counterpoint and all those things. And I really look up to Kevin as a teacher and as a person. He's really got a very insightful look at the ukulele, and he comes at it with a lot of respect and appreciation for the instrument and for kind of the culture behind the instrument. So he was fabulous, as always. And then we moved on to Victoria Vox, and Victoria was the only one on the lineup that I hadn't really seen teach before. I have never met her in person or ran across her at workshops or anything like that. And so she was kind of a wild card, but she absolutely blew me away. She taught a couple of her original songs, and I wasn't honestly sure how that was going to go because, not everybody writes good originals, but Victoria Vox is a freaking fantastic songwriter, and I was just absolutely impressed by the songs that she wrote and that she presented and her way of presenting them. She just, she's a Berklee graduate, Berklee College of Music, and she just has this very super high level of musical understanding. And as she was going, she was like counting out this very specific 16th note rhythms. She knew exactly where the strums were supposed to be and was able to articulate that at a level that I haven't really seen before. It was just like, wow, she like really is familiar with this material and really knows how to explain it super well. And the songs are lovely. They're super well written and fun to play along with. And I think I smiled the whole entire time she was on the stream. It was super great. And my expectations were super far exceeded. And she was actually just on the last episode of the podcast, the last actual episode of the podcast. So check that out. I got to kind of, after the Ukes for Ukraine event, I got to talk with her more and get to know her better and talk about her new album that has just come out and the inspiration for that and how she kind of approaches going from kind of a produced poppy sort of production to just being the one man or woman band on stage and playing with her looper and how she adapts everything. So super interesting talk story there. And then Neil Chin taught some strumming techniques with the right hand with such a huge emphasis on respecting your body and respecting your limits, you know, your physical limits of if it hurts, stop immediately kind of a thing, which you don't always get that from ukulele players. And so it's kind of refreshing to hear that level of encouragement for, you know, pay attention to what your body is telling you, because I'm behind my screen and I can only do so much for you from here. I can't know that you're hurting. So, you know, you stop when it hurts. So he talked about the chunk and some flamenco kind of right hand styles and everything. And then Craig Chi and Sarah Mizell came on afterwards. We actually switched our time slots last minute because Craig was texting me while Neil was on. He's like, oh man, can we switch spots? Because what I want to teach is going to just roll perfectly right after Neil's content. Can we work it together? And I was scheduled to go next. It's like, sure, man, that's fine. I don't care. I don't think anybody on the stream's going to mind. And so Craig had some more kind of strumming and rhythmic things to contribute along those lines. And Sarah was kind of the first mate, I guess you might say. She was running the iPad, which is Craig, for those who don't know, is the tech guy. He is the tech guy in the ukulele world, and he's very comfortable with live stream stuff. As soon as COVID hit, they were able to pivot into live events very gracefully and easy. And Craig is the reason that Ukes for Ukraine even happened, because he volunteered to run the tech back end and to punch people in and out of the stream. And so as soon as Craig comes on, you know that this guy knows what he's doing, because the cameras are crisp and clear and the audio is perfect. And when he was teaching, he was split screen side by side with an iPad that Sarah was making notes on to show everything that he was explaining. She would like write out a visual example of like the counts and the strum directions and stuff. Kind of like next level technology for us Stone Age folks who are just very happy to be as analog as possible. And then finally, I taught a little workshop at the end of the event on kind of the chromatic scale and string transfer windows, which is something that I kind of figured out how to explain it for the course. And I've been really excited about it ever since, just because it's such a powerful way of thinking about the fretboard, where you don't need to know where the notes are on the fretboard. You don't need to have any kind of formula or chart or pattern in your head. You can figure it out as long as you know the distance between one place and the next place, and you know these string transfer shapes. So it allows you to basically play a chromatic scale across the strings and switch back and forth between the strings anytime you want, where you are completely in control of where you go. And so I talked about that. And then my mentor, Kiyoki Kahumoku, came online, and he actually joined me here in my studio, which is actually my bedroom, but it's also my studio. And we played some songs just to finish it up. So that's a super long-winded, not much of an overview. That was kind of just me telling you what the event was. But you should definitely go check it out. It's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel. It's also on the front page of liveukulele.com. If you want to go have a peek, go check it out. It's over 6 hours of top-notch, world-class content from some of the very best in the business. I was very humbled and honored to have these people involved and to have them answer the call. And the event, here is the kicker and kind of the bottom line. The event was a benefit for World Central Kitchen, of course, who are out in Ukraine feeding folks. There is a bug flying around my room. I wonder if you can hear him in my microphone. And World Central Kitchen, they're feeding folks and funding independent restaurants to get meals out into the community in places that are not able to get food very easily right now because of the war. They were the benefit of our fundraiser, and we raised over $11,000 all told. Right now, the total is like $11,289 or something along those lines. The fundraiser is open until the end of April. I did set it so that donations could be collected afterwards. And so if you are inclined to toss some money in the hat, it would be greatly appreciated. You can add to our wonderful total that we were able to achieve. And actually, the World Central Kitchen, I don't know if it was I think their main kitchen in Kharkiv maybe, was actually hit by a missile a number of days ago. And so they're kind of regrouping, and I don't believe any of the World Central Kitchen staff was killed, but I think there were some injuries from the strike, but they're kind of regrouping and getting back together and, trying to, I think, reestablish where their home base is going to be. So all that money is going to helping them get meals out into the community, but also maybe rebuilding and reworking their infrastructure post that attack. So, fantastic event. I was just super thrilled, and I hope you will go check it out and see what there is for you to learn from all of our wonderful instructors. I was sent in the mail. I never get things in the mail. So I get a surprisingly small amount of things sent to me every year for being a fairly big time ukulele website. I mean, I don't think I'm near the top of ukulele websites, and nor do I really care to be, as long as I can do my thing and share my love for the instrument and share my teaching and pay my bills. I'm all good. But I still would expect to get more things in the mail, like different kinds of gear things, like, hey, check this out, or hey, give this ukulele away, or hey, we want you to have this. But not so much. But the guys at KNA Pickups reached out to me, and they wanted to send me some of their detachable passive piezo pickups. They actually go under the string knot on the bridge. So on a tie bridge, you have the strings come over the saddle, they go through the hole, and then they come back around to wrap. And their saddle basically ties into where your strings go to be tied, where the knot finally sits. You kind of undo the strings, loosen them up, and scoot this pickup in there. And I've been kind of busy trying to get the course stuff finished up, so I haven't had a chance to try them out. But they're sitting here, and I do intend to try them out, see what they're about. It seems like it might be a good solution for folks who don't want to drill holes in their ukulele to put in a normal pickup. I'm very much of the boat of, like, if you're going to be playing professionally or you're going to be playing out anywhere, it makes so much sense to have a good pickup in your ukulele. Just do it. Just drill the hole, get over it, and go on your merry way. But I know there are some folks who are very attached to a perfect aesthetic kind of a thing, don't want to drill the holes, and maybe this will be a good solution. I don't know. I'll try it out, and I will let you guys know if I think it's worth its salt. But it's kind of a little weird because the cable that plugs in is not inside your ukulele, right? It goes from the pickup, which is tied under your strings. You plug it in and then the cable would fall to the ground, except I believe they include like a waistband clip so that you can kind of hold the weight of the cable on your belt, and then the last little foot or whatever to go into the pickup can go in without having the weight of the rest of the cable hanging from it. We'll see how it goes. But always nice to receive free stuff in the mail. Kind of exciting to see what's going on, because I don't keep track of what new products there are unless it like is very super relevant to me and it's something that I think I need, which is almost never. There's just like, how many great ukulele accessories can there possibly be? And so I don't really pay attention to much of that sort of thing. But this looks interesting, and it could be a nice solution for some folks. We'll see. Let me play another song. I haven't been playing a whole lot of music, to be honest. I've been on the stress wagon trying to get Ukes for Ukraine going together, and now just trying to get the course finished up, because I saw on the news the other day that inflation's at 8.5%. Oh my gosh. Time to get things out into the world so they can have their time to shine. Okay. What should I play? Here's a beautiful song that was written by the Queen of Hawaii, the last Queen of Hawaii, who helped guide the kingdom through the terrible events of the overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom with such grace. She is still looked up to as just kind of like the guiding light of Hawaii. And she left us with so many songs, so many fantastic songs. I don't know if you could find any other ruler in history who had such a prolific contribution to their local music and the music of that place. And Queen Liliuokalani, she really was that for Hawaii, and she left so many beautiful songs. But this is a song called Sanoe. I've been playing it a lot because it's just such a beautiful melody. It's really fabulous, and I love this tune. Which reminds me, I think that I know that I think this is in the course, and I forgot to attach the transcription to the lesson page. Got to go in and fix that. Oh no. But this is Sanoe. The S is not an official part of the Hawaiian language, and a lot of times the Queen and many other composers, but the Queen especially, she borrowed a lot of kind of quirky stuff from the English language in her songs, and there are times when you'll hear like an English word thrown in with all the Hawaiian words, and Sanoe is kind of like to my understanding, is like an Englishified version of Kanoe, which is the mists. love that wrong note. Koki. I don't know if they're coming through on the mic. It'll be interesting to see when I polish this up. But the frogs are singing. I used to have an ukulele stand on my desk, but for some reason I took it off, and I really would like it back. I keep looking at my hangers on the wall and thinking, boy, I got to unscrew one of those and put it on my desk, because the ones on the wall, it looks good, but it's not very functional. It's nice to have that hanger on the desk, so when I'm done playing, I can just hang it right there. Instead, I'll lean it sketchy like on my bookshelf. Close enough. But actually, that's my more beta. But actually, I've been thinking about trying to find some sort of a new ukulele for recording, because I've been kind of with the new mic, and I got a mic preamp and some of the new gear that I'm getting. I'm kind of thinking ahead to maybe recording some stuff again. And I absolutely love Chuck's ukulele, and it's fabulous for most things. Like on stage, I have yet to really hear its rival as far as just capturing and representing a pickup well. And of course, it's lovely to play, and it's great for just jamming kinds of stuff. But for some reason on the mic, it can kind of sometimes sound a little bit harsh. And I'm not sure how it's going to cooperate with this mic. I've got to do some more testing and see how it goes. But I've been thinking that maybe a koa ukulele would sit a little bit better on the microphone, because with the spruce top, it's just really, it's really attacky. What do they call it? Snappy. It's like the response is really fast. And I think that sometimes that can kind of overload the mic in a way that's not as nice as maybe koa, which is a little more relaxed, a little bit slower feeling sound. So I absolutely adore the spruce for just playing and being able to like articulate and pop notes out. But I guess the microphones don't like it quite as much. At least the ones I've used in the past. They've been less agreeable. And as soon as I bring out my kamaka and just play the kamaka, it just like kind of warms to the microphone sound a little better, and it blends a little bit easier. So I'm going over to Oahu in June for a friend's wedding, so I'm going to try and stop by Andrew's shop, Hawaii Music Supply, go check those guys out and play some of the instruments on the wall, see if they've got anything that tickles my fancy. And if not, I might have to wait around and see what Chuck gets up to next. But we'll see. By the time that comes around, I'll have had a chance to kind of get to know this mic and see what it'll do. And, maybe the spruce top one will be fine in the long run. But we'll see. I've noticed in the past that all of the recordings that I've done with the kamaka have always kind of come out just easier and have always been a little bit smoother and more appealing kind of after the fact. So it'd be an interesting experiment, but nothing fancy. I'm not an ukulele shopper or an ukulele buyer whatsoever. I don't even know what's really available on the market anymore. I just know that I want something kind of simple, nothing blingy, doesn't need to be a fancy signature series thing. As long as it's easy to play and it sounds really good, that's kind of my main thing. And I don't know. In my experience, there's no reason that a stock ukulele doesn't tick those boxes. Certainly the little extra attention to detail that you can get from a more custom or higher end build, it can go a little bit further, but I'm a big fan of the 80-20 rule. It's like, get as much as you can for as little bit of the work as you can. And I think that instruments can kind of do that too, is a lot of times you can get carried away with getting your last 20% when in fact you should be focusing on, does it cover the 80%? And is it like 20% the easy of, getting the instrument or finding the instrument or playing the instrument? You can pull your hair out all day long if you like, but at the end of the day, if it kind of works, it's great. Go with it. I saw something online today. I was doing some research about microphone stuff, and I saw a forum post that was basically, you go to war with the army that you have. And that was kind of a good thought revolving around instruments and gear and stuff. It was like, what you've got is good enough if you know how to play it right. I am looking forward to heading out to Maui at the beginning of June. That's kind of my next exciting thing that's going to be going on, is Uncle George Kahumoku Jr.'s slack key and ukulele workshop. Going out there for the 4th or 5th year in a row. Super fun, always. I think it's probably the 5th year. Maybe even like the 6th year. I don't know. But I remember that the very first time I went, it was because Brian Tolentino pulled out at the last minute or couldn't do it, and their backup couldn't come in. It had something to do with Brian Tolentino not being able to be there. But I hear that Brian Tolentino is going to be there this year for the first time since that first time when I was kind of filling in for him. And Brian, for those of you who don't know, is one of Hawaii's premier studio ukulele players. He's like the mercenary guy who has never really had his own solo career so much, as to my understanding, of course. But he's always playing with Raiatea, and there's another couple of groups that he plays with that I can't think of at the moment. But he's always he's like the backup guy. If you need an ukulele player to fill out your band and to be really tasteful and to kind of sit back and just do the fairy dusting, as he calls it, he's the guy. There's nobody better. And so I met him back in 2014, I think, at the Hawaii Island Ukulele Retreat, the year that it was at Kalani Honua down in Puna. And I just came down for a day to teach a workshop or two and to play a couple songs at their concert that night. And Brian kind of took me under his wing that day, and we kind of hung out a little bit, and I got to know him and ate lunch with him, that kind of a thing. It's so funny with these workshops that happen. Sometimes all the instructors come from, elsewhere, because they're a draw to folks who maybe like more mainstream mainland music, like the jazz and the blues and those kinds of things. And so a lot of times Elaine DeMann, who put on the Hawaii Island ukulele retreats, would bring in these more mainland ukulele artists. And, I or somebody else would end up being like the Hawaii person, which is silly because I'm the white guy, right? I'm, no Hawaiian in my blood whatsoever. And Brian was kind of also the other local guy at that event. So it's kind of like, hey, you're from Hawaii. I'm from Hawaii. Let's have lunch together, kind of a thing. And so super nice guy. I really enjoyed getting to meet him. And then we ran across each other a few years ago at the Ukulele Festival in Oahu. I just happened to be there looking at the booths, and he happened to be in the back before he went on to play. And we just said said, how's it? But I'm really looking forward to the chance to get to know him better and get to interact with him and play music with him over the course of the week over there at Napili, at the Napili Kai Beach Resort. Should be super fun. I talked to Herb today, actually, about that, and it sounds like kind of getting all the scheduling lined up, figuring out who's going to fly in when, who's going to fly out when. Some of the guys are leaving early because I guess Sam Kamaka's funeral service is going to be at the end of the week, and so some of them are leaving to go out to that to make sure they're present for that, and so they're rearranging the schedule a little bit to accommodate those needs. But overall, I'm quite looking forward to the workshop this year. Last year was a little bit rocky because we were right in the middle of like hyper COVID here in Hawaii, and knock wood, everything went well that year. It was in September because they had to postpone already, and I guess they decided that September is fine, we'll just do it in September, and now we're actually back on track for June, and it should be great. Other instructors gonna be, there's I think the Slack key side of things is usually more well populated with like big name Slack key artists. There's Led Kaapana, Sunny Lim, Kevin Brown, Stephen Inglis, who not many people know about, but Stephen Inglis is an absolutely insane guitarist. He is one of the best guitarists in Hawaii. Probably one of the top maybe 3 guitarists I've seen in Hawaii just from a technical standpoint. The dude can shred, and he's a super nice guy, and he's got a real nice taste for music. He actually did a Cut the Dead Some Slack CD where he did all Slack key interpretations of Grateful Dead songs. Super interesting guy. He's like the other Haole boy at the workshop. The first time we met, it's like, what's your story? Why are you here? You're not Hawaiian. But he's going to be there. I think maybe Jeff Peterson. Not sure though. Usually it's either Jeff or Steven at the workshop. But like all of those super heavy hitters. And then for ukulele, it is kind of a little bit more low level guys, like around my renown, fame, if you were. It sounds stupid saying it, but like Herb is the big ukulele guy, or he was last year. We had year before that was, or time before that was James Hill. But usually it's just like myself and Jason Jerome, who's a fantastic instructor, but he's not super well known on the circuit because he runs a music store. He's like a music store owner, and he's just kind of a fixture of the Maui music scene, but doesn't necessarily have that name recognition of guys who are out there and about and have done the ukulele festival circuit so much. So having Brian on board will be kind of even more interesting because he's the guy, Brian Tolentino. You can't ask for more. And it'll be really interesting to see him and Herb's dynamic because they've recorded a couple albums together. They're super tight, and that's just Hawaii music dynamics is super interesting. And I'm always fascinated and just, thrilled every time I get to participate, even in a small way. So looking forward to the jams and everything like that. If you're so inclined to listen to this podcast and whip out your credit card and say, I'm going to Maui for a week or 2 weeks because you're buying the plane tickets already, you might as well stay for a little longer, right? You can find out more information on kahumoku.com. KAHUMOKU. Kahumoku. You just sound it out. .com. The lineup's there, the student packet's there. There's some information about what all is going on. And if you end up making it out there, be sure to come say hi, because I will not know about your choices until you tell me about them. I've been in touch with at least one, mainly just one student who I've been in touch with over the past year, kind of. I think he discovered my stuff, and we've been back and forth via email, but he decided to come out to the workshop this year, and so it'd be nice to kind of have that in-person connection with with somebody who has been a virtual pal across the email waves, get to meet them in person. So if you also want to be one of those folks, please come join us. It's always a lovely week, lots of learning, and good times had by all. Well, after hours listeners, if you made it this far, you're probably Chuck Moore. But if you're not, thank you as well. An hour, not even an hour, is probably more than enough time of me just kind of rambling. I'll play one more song because I feel like I should. And it's an excuse to play a song. I have been using my strap, but I'm tired of hearing it squeak and I don't feel like putting it back on. So I am going to play without a strap because I am fearless. But what am I going to play? So hard choosing songs because I don't have the copyright clearance for like 90% of my set list. So I've got to be considerate in what I play. Try and play stuff that is in the public domain or my own. Well, since Chuck is probably listening to this, I'm going to play The Jig Is Up, which is a song that he actually named off of my album. Oh, see, this will be interesting without a strap. In the glorious key of F, which in my opinion is the best sounding ukulele key. Not the easiest to play in, but the best sounding. You heard it here first. All right. Thanks for tuning in to Live Ukulele After Hours. This is a bonus podcast episode. This is not regular programming. This is Brad is sort of kind of bored / sort of kind of wants to rewind and relax. I don't think that's what they say. Just relax on a random evening, try out some of my new gear, and share a little bit with you folks. I hope you enjoyed. As always, please subscribe if you like what you hear. Certainly the other episodes will be more well thought out, less rambling, but I hope you can appreciate the charm that this provides to the select few who do like this kind of a thing. I wish you all the very best in the coming weekend, I guess. Tomorrow's Friday for me. Who knows when you'll hear this, but it's Friday for me. I think I'm going to go meet up with an old friend and go check out the beach. Yeah, and then enjoy the weekend after that. It's finally been kind of sunny here. I was able to go up the hill and weed my collo and do some mowing and create some grass clippings to mulch my collo. And it was really nice to be outside for a couple of days after being stuck inside with the dreary rain for like 2.5 weeks or something like that. So hopefully it stays for a little longer and we can dry out, kill some of the mold that's growing on everything, and start fresh next time it decides to rain. Anyways, that's all from me. I bid you all a good night, good luck, and aloha.